La clínica del Dr. David Cavazos, el quiropráctico oficial de Gali Lucha Libre, presenta. Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing, everybody? Welcome to Gali Lucha Libre Intermission. Tod Altenburg, you see him around Gali Lucha Libre, and it's a pleasure to have him on board on this interview to talk about Gali Lucha Libre and how he likes Gali Lucha Libre. Tod, how you doing and welcome?
Hey, doing real well. Tico, thanks for having me. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great now that you're on. I mean, let's talk shop. Let's talk shop.
I mean,
yeah. When did your affinity, your likeness, the love for Lucha Libre evolve or came to be?
So when I was a kid, I grew up in the Chicagoland area, and I watched all the AWA. So Dick the Bruiser, Crusher, Jesse Ventura, Adrian Adonis, Greg Gagne, Vern Gagne, those people. And then we also got a couple hours every Saturday night from Georgia Championship Wrestling. So we saw Gordon Soley, the Road Warriors, Ric Flair, Roddy Piper. And then as I grew a little bit older, wrestling became kind of cartoonish, and it was kind of that Attitude Era in WWE with Stone Cold and Mick Foley and The Rock. And I stopped kind of watching for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, about 6-7 years ago, I was going through the stations one night, and I came across Lucha Underground, and Mil Muertes was on there, and Pentagon Jr., and some of the others that we've seen at Gali. And I was just so excited by the high flying and the customs and the masks and the colors and the vibrancy. And that really got me excited and got me more passionate about wrestling again, Lucha Libre especially. And then living in Lombard, whenever I'd go over to Villa Park, I'd see all the posters up from Carlos for Gali, and I decided, I saw, let me take that back, one of his shows, he had Pentagon Jr. coming in as a guest, doing autographs, meet and greet, and then wrestling that night. So I thought, well, I'll go. What the heck, Sunday night? And that was probably 5-6 years ago, and ever since I've been going. And I'm, as you've seen me, I'm around Gali pretty much. Carlos runs 2-3 times a month, and I'm almost always there. So I love his product, and I love the people he brings in, and I love the family atmosphere, because all of us fans, we've been together. We've got a core group of fans that have been together for 4 or 5 years now, and we keep going back. We keep coming back, and Carlos just puts on a great show. So Gali is completely worth it, and what a great time it is.
And that's the meeting place for everybody to gather and have a good Friday, a good Saturday, a good Sunday watching Lucha Libre. Do you, throughout the years that you have mentioned that you've been watching or coming to Lucha Libre, do you collect masks, boots, or shirts from the different wrestlers?
Well, mainly masks, although I do have a good collection of shirts. I have my Arrow Boy shirt on tonight. But yeah, I have Arrow Boy masks. I have coming up on the 11th, Aramis. I've got 3 of his masks. Hijo de Canis Lupis, Dragon Bane, a couple from Mil Muertes, a couple from a great new up-and-comer who's been on a lot of Gali shows, and that's Espiritu Maya. He's an up-and-comer, and I think he's exciting, and he's really grown in the last couple of years. And I've also got the very first mask that El Torero ever wore in the ring, and he's only been wrestling professionally for about a year and a half now. So
Yes, I agree completely with you. Although it's going to be an anniversary of myself being around a microphone with Gali, and I enjoy every minute of it ever since I got the chance by Carlos to be behind the microphone and behind the cameras. Now, you guys sit in the first row of the ring. And a lot of times you had become part of the lucha. Why do I say that? Because when the wrestlers fly out of the ring, you guys have to catch them a lot of times.
yeah, there's been plenty of times where and my friend Paul Burrell.
Yes, indeed.
Paul is he's taken some shots, of course on accident, but yeah, some of the high flyers. I mean, we've had Black Taurus out there, we've had Arrow Boy, Aramis, Espiritu Maya. At that last show, or one of the last shows at the soccer field, Laredo Kid and Black Taurus, if you remember, they went all around the arena. They were out right by us. So yeah, we always seem to attract the guests, and we become part of the show. And then there was one show that we had been heckling one of the Boricuas, Ricky Cruz, the head of the group of Los Sociedad, and I had brought a sign. I don't know if you remember it, but I brought a sign that said Ricky Who, and it was all neon green. And we had we saw him the night before in another federation, and we kind of talked to him, and we were making sure that hey, it's all good fun. And he was having a blast with it. So when he came around, I held the sign up and he ripped it up, and it was on camera. So it's a good time. Paul and I always make the best of it. We always have so much fun.
And you had mentioned some of the wrestlers that you guys have had on your side of the arena, and those guys aren't little. Those guys are not little. They're pretty muscle bound. And
No,
I know
Black
Paul
Taurus,
caught a couple.
Taurus is a big guy.
Yes, he is. And so is Ricky.
And so is Ricky, correct? And all those guys. Some of them are what you'd maybe call maybe lightweights or cruiserweights, I guess, back in the day. But yeah, there are some that are big guys. And
Mil Muertes is one of them.
Mil Muertes is one. We've had Atomico out there, Atomico Senior. We've had Funebre. So we've had quite a number. And then you're right, they are big guys. So
I know that you had mentioned Paul Valeri. I think he was at the hotel that he got hit and on the low region, and he was. I could see from where I was sitting broadcasting that he got hurt quite a bit, and in the intermission I went to see him. He said, "Sure enough, I got hit in the old coconut tree," but yeah, good old Paul. On the what's you had mentioned some wrestlers, Todd. Up to now, what had been the most memorable, or one of the two or three that you have said, or you can say, wow, these guys really did it all and left it all in the ring and outside the ring?
Sure. Who I've always been a fan of, and I've found him in Galley, and Carlos brings him in all the time, and that's the shirt that I'm wearing tonight. That's Arrow Boy. Arrow Boy always puts on a great match. I have a few of his masks. I have one of his ring worn gear, and the thing about Arrow Boy is that I connect with him via Instagram, and he's just so down to earth, and he's a person himself, and he just cares. And it's funny because after the matches, I always tell him, it's usually Sunday night, I always tell him in Spanish, safe travels, and he always gives me kind of a hug, and it's that kind of thing that really makes a difference when he knows your name, and when he knows your family, and he knows just some of the things that are happening in your life. And it's the same thing, Aramis is the same way. Gringo Loco is another one that I found that, Paul and I have seen Gringo primarily Galley, but we've seen him other places too. And Gringo Loco was just a great guy, very athletic, and just an incredible wrestler. And then, Mil Muertes, or Messias, depending on which he's going, whatever he's going by that night.
Right.
I've gained a lot of respect for him, and of course Huracan Ramirez Jr. and Black Taurus, and Espiritu Maya. He's another one that is always taking time out to, we talk after the matches, and he'll, how did I hit this, or how did I do this, or what did that look like? And he always wants to see what I'm going to post on Instagram, because he always knows I catch usually the good parts of the match. And so, the fact that not only do I interact with them sitting ringside, but then we've got that connection outside of the ring as well. I think that's just a really neat thing. And I'll tell you, you don't get that in other places. That's unique, in my opinion, to Galley, and that's a tribute to Carlos and the type of organization and the type of atmosphere that Carlos tries to cultivate. His he always says the best lucha libre in the Midwest, and he's right. He has a great show. He always does.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Todd. Now, lucha libre. There's lucha libre, and there is the regular, that I call it the regular wrestling.
Right.
In your eyes and your experience, where do you put the difference between lucha libre and regular wrestling?
Oh, I think,
to mention the way.
I think lucha libre requires so much more athleticism, calculation, thinking about moves. I think that it's just such an art form, and I think that the luchadors, it's almost as if they're painting. They're almost painting a beautiful drawing for us in that ring, a story for us. Whereas pro wrestling, just the typical maybe the Rock versus Stone Cold or something like that. Good stuff, but it's a lot of pro. I remember when Monday Night Raw first came on the air, and there used to be packed full 3 hours of matches, and now it's almost 3 hours of just guys cutting promos in just a few matches. And that's the thing, that's the thing that I really love about Carlos and the Lucha Libre is the interviews, and Tico, when the guys come to see you after they've won, they come over, they talk for about a minute or two, boom, they've said what they want to say, they're off, and then the music hits, and we've got the next guys coming in, and it's not, we're not spending the whole 3 hours of the night in Villa Park, with them cutting with Axel Rico and Rico de la Vega cutting promos all night. They're good guys and they're fun to watch, right. But they celebrate their win. You talk to them for a couple minutes, and then boom, then Cody Jones and Golden Star come out, and it's a great match. So I like the fact that you keep it moving. Carlos keeps it moving. It's a lot of fun, and so that's the difference that I see. And I think that the on TV, what we see on TV, the typical pro wrestling, I think it's really they're trying to meet a standard, and they're trying to they're always worried about ratings and viewerships and the demographics. What's the age 18 to 35 doing, and what's the age 36 to 50 doing, and what part of the hour are they watching? Are they watching the top of the hour or the bottom of the hour? And with Carlos and Galley, there's many nights where I very rarely even get up to use the restroom because there's constant action. Usually that 10-15 minutes I'll run out. I'll get a couple pictures with a couple of the luchadors, maybe an autograph, use the restroom, get a soft drink, and then I'm back in my seat because I don't like to I like to use that time because I like to be ready. I like to watch what's going on, and I'm afraid if I get up and I move to go do some of that stuff, I'm gonna miss something pretty spectacular. So there's just so many good things about Galley, and I talk about some of the younger talent. I talk about Espiritu Maya and how he's really progressed over the last few years, and there's some others too. Manny Cortez. Manny is just amazing, and Psycho J and Torero. Torero, like I said, I've got his very first mask that he ever wore, and then Lady Tigre,
Atomico Jr.,
Leslie La Muñeca. I mean, we've got a nice up and coming group also, and that's nice because in a 7 or 8 match card, I always think it's really cool that it's so balanced, and so there's some up and comers, there's some more established names, and then there's some really high flyers who aren't afraid to put their life on the line for us fans. I mean that match where Aramis and Erez defeated Golden Dragon and Gringo Loco for the tag team title at the soccer field. That was just an incredible match, and the amount of money I saw thrown in that ring. And that's the other thing. You talk about difference between lucha libre and regular pro wrestling. That Paul and I always say we make sure we have about $10 worth of singles because there's usually at least 2 matches that, and you've seen it too, Kiko, where people are throwing in dollars after the match because the matches are so good. Bandolero's another one. Bandolero's he's wrestled a while, but you've seen him go before. Some of those matches, he just turns it on and does not stop.
Yes, I completely agree with you. For the folks, you just brought up a very valid point that a lot of people that follow lucha libre for the first time, they see money being thrown into the ring, and they're like, "What is that?" And you just explain exactly one of the points that I was going to ask you. If you please explain the differences, and what it is that they throw money, dollars, $10, $20 into the ring because the fans they appreciate the wrestler so much that that's how they applaud them, more or less, throwing not coins but bills fall down.
Yep.
Yeah,
I know.
I don't think coins will be great.
I know that in Mexico, like in the arena Mexico, and in CMLL and AAA, I know a lot of the fans, they do throw the dollars and they throw the coins, but that's one difference in the United States. We pretty much throw, like you said, $1, $5. I've seen 10s and 20s being thrown in the ring before, and it's the fans' way of appreciating. It's for those luchadors going above and beyond, and really just you hear that esto es lucha. You hear that cheer, and that's when that people are really into the match, and it's just so much fun to be around that. And you know what? It's an escape for 3-4 hours of the day on a Sunday. You've worked hard. You've done a million things, and you need At least I do. I need 3 or 4 hours of time on the weekend just to turn it off and just have some fun and just yell and laugh and just be amazed by some of the dives. And it's just so much fun, Tico. And then, you always make sure that before the matches, you stop over and we fist bump. And, and I've teased you about we should have Tico and Todd, and we could have different shows. That's what, the TNT show. But you've fit right in, and you've become just you're part of the gang now. I mean, we see you and it's like, yep, Tico's here, and we look, make sure there's a few other fans coming, and then we're like, okay, the gang is all here. Let's get it started. Let's ring the bell. Let's get going.
Yeah, thank you very much. Another one that I would like to send a shout out to is Robert Lee.
Yeah,
Robert Lee. He makes the trip 4 or 5 hours behind the wheel to make it to Gali Lucha Libre, and he's there cheering his heart out right next to you and Paul and all the rest of the folks that come to watch Gali Lucha Libre, like you said, for 2 or 3 hours, and to forget about the world. Just let's enjoy what we're here to enjoy. And with that, Todd, I'm gonna production is already ringing the bell. We got to continue. And I would like to appreciate you, Todd, for taking the time out and taking the call and do this interview. And I'll see you on the next Lucha Libre that Gali will bring to us. And again, thank you very much.
Adiós, mi amigo. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Muchas gracias. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.